This is take 2 because I screwed up take 1. So we'll try this again. So, Michael Foster, our beautiful friend of the heart, posted a beautiful question on the BBiP 2.0 page. And his question was twofold about guidance and desire. And they're actually closely related. So, and how we experience our relationship to those things is also intertwined. So, would you read his question?
I will. I wanted to ask a question around feeling states and spacious presence. In receiving guidance, tuning into Holy Spirit, a lot of emphasis is put on feeling states. Feeling into something is a common phrase spoken. I've often used it myself and am curious if the ego uses this to trick us into not listening to or ignoring guidance because we don't feel it.
Okay, let me address the comment there about ego. Ego, the way we often experience it, we project as though there's another consciousness, an entity, a thought system, something that is trying to trick us or deceive us or whatever. And that's just a long carryover from, back in the day, ego would have been called Satan or the devil, or Yeshua just called it the deceiver. Back in the day, he called the Holy Spirit the comforter, because the truth always feels great, and the deceiver being the devil or the ego, or whatever. But the point is, there isn't an ego. We, as Christ, the power to create, are either abiding in a consciousness where we are creating a separation and therefore a foe, that those unhealed aspects of ourself that we're projecting out and seem to be attacking us. It's just our own projection. Or we're extending what Yeshua would call the thought system of the Holy Spirit, which is the truth. So it's not that there's an ego trying to trick us. We, however, are very good at tricking ourselves and then blaming it on the ego rather than realizing we're doing it to ourselves, because we are one self. And we're either using our power to extend creation or to project it, projecting what we don't want, and therefore seeing it attack us, called ego, or extending the truth. So, with that aside, let's not make the ego more than it is, because especially if you're a Course in Miracles student, we can make the ego into this, perception of an entity, of a consciousness that is trying to get us. And that's not actually true. It's just our own stuff that we haven't healed.
Okay, the other question I have is with Yeshua's teaching around desire. Intention, as this for me follows a similar thread as my previous question, as having desire would indicate having a strong feeling, knowing sense towards the desire. There's a strong emphasis with mind to the senses and feeling state. I recall reading a wonderful channeling via Pamela Cribb where Yeshua talks about the difference between feeling and emotions. Listening to the voice for God, guidance, is a key part of this journey and an essential key on the journey. In this last year, strong emotions, feeling states, have been very much where my focus has been drawn due to changes in my own life circumstances. It goes on, but that's the gist of the question.
Okay, so guidance and desire. So let's look at the relationship between those two things. And all of us have a different perception of what guidance means to you, what you want or what you desire from guidance. Some people want guidance to be, tell me everything to do, everything to say. Yeshua even says in the Course, where to go, what to say, and to whom. Or we can want our guidance to tell us, how do I get money? How do I get a lover? How do I get this? How do I get that? So the real important thing as it relates to attuning to guidance is being really honest with yourself and discovering, what is it I want guidance for? What is it I want guidance for? And what is the belief that is generating my questions that I am, quote, posing to the Spirit and wanting information back? So here's an example. So if your desire that you're working, either consciously or unconsciously, is to heal fear, then recognize that the Holy Spirit must then guide you in relation to that deepest desire. So your deeper desire is actually kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, because we're all creators and we can't stop creating. We never have stopped creating. So if you're seeking guidance as it relates to fear, well, then expect fear to be a very big part of your life. Does that make sense? If you're seeking guidance to heal, the most important thing that has to be healed is this belief that you need healing. You see what I mean? So we limit how the Spirit can guide us by whatever our conscious or unconscious desires and expectations are as it relates to guidance. Does that make sense?
It does.
So it's really important to be really, really honest with yourself. And it's very common within spiritual circles to pick up the spiritual guidance. Oh, I'm being guided to go to this location or to go to that location, to do this, to say this, to whatever. Ultimately, the simplest thing that we are all attempting to be guided to is the utter awakening and realization of our eternal being. Now, can going to this planet or going to this section or that section or going to this event or that event, they all, of course, can be woven into that. But it's really, really important. And Yeshua talks about this in all his pathways, about the one most important desire that you have. And if you call that oneness with God, well, how are you assuming that must go and then limiting the way guidance can come? So for instance, here's an example. So you're playing, I need to heal my relationship to my past, right? Okay. So whether that's the past of this lifetime or the past of multiple lifetimes. So the universe, God, consciousness, will pick that up and say, okay, this being perceives that in order to heal, we need to take this route of addressing past traumas. So ironically, we are creating in the moment, this moment, the only powerful moment, that need, which then the universe must go about fulfilling, because we're not in the place where we could receive guidance, which is you're healed and whole now. Nothing you've ever experienced has ever affected your ability to choose, and you're healed and whole and free to create right now. Totally absent of the past. This is Yeshua's holy instant. The holy instant is a current state of freedom where the past doesn't influence our hoped for, wished for outcomes, and the future are also let go of, so we're utterly free and present in this moment. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's really this very complex and utterly unique relationship for every being between their desires, conscious or otherwise, and be really honest. What do I think awakening is going to get me? What's the big prize that I am certain will come in the future if I do these practices? And if you're one of those that believes you must do in order to attain or achieve what we already are, then you better believe your guidance is going to give you a lot of things to do or achieve, because you're the one decreeing to the universe, I have to achieve this. So the universe will create the obstacle course for you until you sufficiently either wake up that, wow, I'm doing this to myself. I wonder if I could stop creating my own obstacle course towards a present peace, or I could just be present peace. You see what I mean? So desire is really, really important, because that is actually going to birth and frame within you what you think you need in terms of guidance, and also completely color how you think guidance can come. Isn't that something? Now, everybody wants, here's your 1, 2, 3 step to getting guidance. They want it to come in words, or they want it to come this way. The fact of the matter is, it will come in whatever way you're most open to it. There isn't a normal. There isn't a way it's supposed to be. There is your unique relationship with the universe, with God, with creation, based on where you are at your consciousness and what you are holding in your consciousness. So just imagine everything is available to you, but what are you saying? No thanks to the everything. I need to heal this first, or I must accomplish this first, or I must be able to do this first. So you're actually creating now the relationship to how guidance can come, and what you are requiring within your own consciousness to come to the level of claim and acceptance of what you eternally are. Isn't that something? So even in the midst of this, we are being creative, and it's affecting how we receive guidance and what we perceive guidance should be. If you're thinking you got to earn God's love, then I bet you're going to get a lot of guidance to do things that you say are holy and spiritual and nice. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really juxtaposition, isn't it?
It is. It's absolutely beautiful paradox.
So I wish there was a simple answer. Oftentimes, if I have a session with someone, whatever it is, I can kind of feel where they're at in their journey and what they're seeking and how much of it they may be letting in or not. I mean, if you feel like you've got to achieve everything in order to come to peace or awakening or knowing or presence or whatever you determine the big prize of awakening is, then the universe can't give you what you actually want, because you're saying, not now, thank you, but create a pathway in which I can discover that in the future. And, so how frightened have you ever been of seeking guidance because you feel like, oh gosh, I'll be told I have to do this. I have to leave this partner. I have to do that. I have to do this. I got to go to this event and I don't have the money or whatever. I want to be really, really clear. If that's the way you're experiencing it, that is a projection of your own consciousness. We are God, and what reflects back to us, even in the form of guidance, is our own creations. Fascinating, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you said the other night that thoughts are not in us, they're outside of us, that we're creating it. So the whole relationship that we have with guidance is based upon how we are defining it. And, that's all over the gamut. And people can get quite bound up in this seeking of guidance. But I wanted to kind of segue from this into the paragraph that Michael uses where he talks about the difference between emotion and feeling states. They are quite distinct in my experience. And I use a feeling state as a compass. I'm not looking outside of myself for God or for the Holy Spirit or some entity that I perceive to be greater than me in order to provide guidance or direction. Instead, I'm turning inward and I'm looking at what is my feeling state. And just as we've been using the body as a launch pad or an entry point for spacious presence, part of my awareness of my self-guidance also includes tuning into the body and getting the sense of how it feels physically, how it feels energetically. It's like a litmus test. And depending upon how I read the state of my beingness is what I use to guide myself.
That informs your knowing.
Yes.
Right. So if, for instance, there was a suggestion that you needed to do a bunch of spiritual practice or jump through a bunch of hoops or be able to, quote, demonstrate some mystical power or something, what feeling state would arise? Because all those would be conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Would that how might your feeling state inform you about that?
Well, it's a matter of getting still so that you can actually read. If there's a lot of busyness in the background, then you can't hear. So for me, it's a matter of getting still. And then we use this phrase a lot about moving into spacious presence as if it is a place we have to go to.
Yeah, that's kind of a misnomer, isn't it?
Yes.
You just allow it to kind of highlight. It's already there, but you just
Yes.
allow it to become more aware of
Yes.
it. Yeah.
So I know it's ever present. I do recognize when my attention is there and when sometimes it's not. So getting still and bringing my attention into that state of being is like an initial step in order to read how am I sensing, feeling, responding to that suggestion. You know, go to this retreat or read this text or pick up this practice and engage in it. And then it's a matter of reading the level of peace that I have with that. If I'm feeling a sense of resistance, then I just note that. Frankly, I don't get into a lot of analysis of that
like
state.
if resistance is there, it's ego, and somehow I have to overcome the resistance.
Right, yeah, I don't do that.
Well, is it possible that resistance is telling you don't go that way?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, how else would we know to not go that way? Maybe resistance is how we're shown. Don't go that way.
Yeah. So that to me might be an indicator, maybe not the full picture, because I'm going to be sort of expand and broaden, and I'm going to take a combination of what awarenesses about my state of being. So if I have resistance, I'm not going to decide, oh, now I have to do it because I have to conquer resistance. So I'm going to be open. I'm just going to note that, oh, I'm noticing that there is some resistance here. And then I'll do, you could call it scanning, but it's more like, and what else is here? And what else is here? And by noting the presence of an feeling state, it might include an emotion, but that's not the primary way I would define it. But it would be an energetic state. And if I feel a sense of peace, also if I feel a sense of excitement, those are kinds of things that would cause me to turn toward that proposal and investigate it more.
So for you, peace and excitement to some extent inform your knowing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is it that this knowing comes and you don't really need a justification or a why or reasons or wherefore or logic? You don't need to build all that up in your mind in order to accept the knowing and trust the knowing?
That's correct, because that process becomes analytical.
Analytical,
Yes. And it's so easy to get lost in thought systems. I mean, for anybody who's been on a spiritual path for a period of time, it's almost its own indoctrination.
Sure, its own dogma on some level.
Right.
And within it is contained all our perceptions of what we should or must or ought to,
Right.
rather than that present moment for you of peace and excitement simply acting as a compass needle.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's not so much words, it's kind of that, Yeshua calls it that still small voice.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned needing to kind of still yourself in some way. And the more you do this as a living practice, not as a, oh gosh, things are about to go to hell, I need to get some guidance. But as you do it as a living practice, you come into a lived place of stillness. So there's not so much a need to let me get away or let me go think on that or let me go meditate on that or feel into it. The knowing is always there. When we clear the obstacles to that now knowing, and many of spiritual thought systems actually can easily become obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
When we clear those, and some people could call it trust, some people might call it faith, but that your own being, not God outside of you, but your own self, which includes your physicality, your personality self, will inform me in every moment of what I need to know. And that knowing is what informs a choice, not so much reveals more info to you, more
Right.
facts.
And I think that's an aspect of living in what our true identity is. That when we begin to know the grandeur, the power, the authority of our own being,
Mm-hmm.
there is a level of trust that comes, and then it becomes quite easy to read one's state of being
Sure.
and to turn in the direction which is most helpful.
Yeah, I had a point in my journey, and there's actually this false sense of security we get into, and it's a trap we can fall into, where I just want guidance and then I'll do what I'm told to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the universe, your guides, Yeshua with me, will play that game for a little while because they're trying to bring us along. And I remember the point in my own consciousness when, he kind of showed me a prescription pad because I had kind of been wanting him to give me orders. And he threw that out, and a round table appeared in my consciousness, and there he sat in my other guides. And it was that point at which I had to come as an equal,
Mm-hmm.
that they weren't telling me what to do anymore, but that we could co-create together.
Mm-hmm.
We could explore together. We could know together. That's a very different relationship with guidance. And it's a full responsibility on me.
Yes.
Because how many times do you get caught in the trap? I mean, I've heard people blaming the spirit for things that didn't go well because they were guided to do them. Well, I mean, has anybody really that occurred to them how crazy that is to project outside of yourself on your guidance blame? Because ultimately we are utterly, absolutely, sovereignly the authorities of our choices and our lived experience and our creations. So crossing this threshold from being a order taker of guidance to a creator, a co-creator with existence, is where you've got to take absolute responsibility. And that means being really honest with those conscious or unconscious deeper desires that might be framing your guidance in a certain way or limiting it in a
Mm-hmm.
certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And this can be an uncomfortable stage because all of a sudden it's on you to decide what's important, not the universe telling you what you need, because you've gotten past I need something outside of me. And then you begin to live in what Yeshua calls God's question: what is it I truly desire? And if I desire great guidance, well, then I guess I desire not to know myself, and I want somebody else to know and to tell me. And that's one of the things that has to be, he would call, purified or cleared up.
Yeah. I had a thought and it just ran right away with me.
Did it?
Yeah, it was
Meaning it ran away from you? Or?
from me.
I see.
It ran away from me. Oh, I think that it has to do with, it has to come back to your own identity. If you think that you are dependent upon guidance, then you're never really going to step into your own authority. Now, the funny thing about this is oftentimes people seek guidance because they're afraid of making a mistake. That's the thought.
Oh,
They're afraid
that
of
is a
making a
common
mistake.
one. Can anybody out there relate?
So and rooted in that fear of making a mistake is a denial of our invulnerability.
And our freedom.
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
God created us in God's image, and then a lot of people like to think, oh, well, then God has a body or something. But the image of consciousness, the image of light, which is radically free, infinitely powerful. So how can we, and all we do is we make choices and we create experiences.
Yes.
And every experience is legit. And every experience provides us opportunities to learn or grow or self-judge or whatever we want. So how can we get freedom? How can you make a mistake in freedom? You can certainly learn, I'm not going to do that again. And that's powerful, isn't it?
It is.
That's a really great thing to know. Oh yeah, I've tried that flavor of separation. That sucks. I've tried suffering. Yeah, I'm done with that. I mean, those are powerful things to know, because the contrast, people often call it duality, the contrast is really critical to supporting your choices, whatever they uniquely are for you and for me and for anybody else. Yeah, that mistake thing can be a big one.
So, I mean, the thing is, the only way you begin to trust your own judgment, to become your own guide, is by practicing. And you're probably going to make some choices that you go, well, maybe that wasn't the best choice. But the knowing of that is going to help you when the next choice comes.
You bet. You're always refining your choice making, aren't you?
Yeah.
Always sharpening your choice making based on what your previous choices have created in terms of experience. Very cool stuff, huh?
Yeah. You'll find your own way.
So I'll leave you just with this last kind of parting thought. Eventually, I got to the stage where I was truly willing to know that what guidance was merely guiding me back to the dance of creation, the dance of existence, and my sovereign expression within that, and my authority to choose. And by that I mean my spirit, my soul, my light, not just my physical body with just my, one lifetime worth of memory to make those choices. But as we awaken to who we truly are, so much more of that is available. That's why you don't have to make all the mistakes in this life. You get the benefit of all the mistakes, all the learnings, not mistakes, excuse me, all the learnings, all the wisdom that you've brought forth throughout your whole journey. So if this is helpful for any of you guys, use it. If not, you can just say, John, Mark, and Cindy are fucking nuts. Throw it out and discover for yourself.
Yeah.
Bring your own knowing forward, because that's really what it's about. And you've got to take that journey on your own, and it will go through many, many stages and will express in many, many different ways. But however you may be receiving guidance, don't require that it always be that way, because it can grow and evolve in knowing and in expression. Cool?
Yeah. Hey, we trust you.
We know who you are.
Use your power of choice.
You can't lose it no matter how you use it. Yeah. So we love you with an infinite love.
And a perfect peace.
Play well, friends.
Bye now.
Bye.